Good morning and welcome. Here we are fighting CPS with your host, Bob Pace, and hang on to your children. It's a warm welcome, and I'm glad that you found me on Facebook. I'm here to help you with your CPS case. I too have been a victim of CPS. There are good CPS and bad CPS, and unfortunately, I ran into a bad CPS. I'm here to help you. This is an interactive live stream. I've been doing this twice a day, 7 days a week for the last 18 months. I started October 23. And I really know where you're at and what you're doing because being involved in CPS has not been very pleasant for me. It started back in August of 2010 when unfortunately I lost a job through no fault of my own. That's a hard enough tragedy when you lose work. I've worked all my life. I was at age 60 in 2010. And, I had worked already 45 years. Started at age 15. And with that being said, it's really been a very, very difficult situation. CPS is not fun. They're not pleasant. And when you run into a rogue CPS, it can make your life like hell. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but a loving father and a husband with 42 years of marriage experience and helped raise 6 children. 3 are older. They have families of their own. They weren't involved in my CPS case, but young children were. At the time when they were involved, they were quite young. I had one child at age 10, another child at age 7, and another child at age 4. So my 3 younger ones, they weren't involved per se. I had unfortunately did not know that a layperson was calling in about us, my wife and I. That layperson happened to be my in-laws, my wife's mother and father. Her 3 sisters and her brother were making phone calls soon after I lost my job, trying to get control of our children. They've never been very supportive of us. And so it's been very, 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 very difficult. Over all these years, they didn't show up at the wedding. They always were trying to take our beautiful children. So they thought this was an opportunity time when I'm not working and looking for work. And they knew how hard it would be to find work at my age. So they were determined. Now I'm here to talk to you about your CPS case. This is an interactive live stream. And you can take messages, listen, or interact with this live stream by sending emojis like hearts, thumbs up, and smiley faces, even a star. Please check below to follow me. And then also, if you want to be notified when I'm on, please check the notification button. So I'm on early this morning only because I have another commitment I'm doing in real life. Now, typically I'm on Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and on the weekends at 8 a.m. But this particular weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm on at 4 a.m. In the evenings of Monday through Sunday, 7 days, at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm on it at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Now, I've been doing this now, as I say, for a long time. There are 14 live streams a week. And you can interact with this room by sending me text messages. You can text your question, and I will try to answer as best as I can. To text a comment or a question, it should pertain to CPS. Please state your first name, your city and county, state, and country. Also, please tell me about your CPS case from the beginning to where you're at. Now, the reason why I say countries because I have 21 countries right now that have heard this podcast or live stream, I meant to say, and have responded either by text or by phone calling. I've had Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, in the Middle East. I've had Saudi Arabia, Libya, and then down to down to Africa. I've had Liberia, Sudan, Rwanda, Mozambique, and of course South Africa. I've had several provinces. Then up to Europe, it's been England, Scotland, Wales, Denmark, and Sweden. Across the pond, it's North America with Canada, 4 provinces there. United States, all 50 states. I've heard from somebody from each of our states. In fact, I've even heard from the District of Columbia. Then south of border New Mexico, then further south to South America, above Brazil on the east coast is Grenada. Then across the South Pacific to New Zealand, and then Australia, several states in Australia. So CPS is a worldwide situation. Now, when I call CPS, it stands for the Child Protection Systems. The Child Protection Systems. Every county and every state may have different names, like in LA County in California, Los Angeles County, it's called the Department of Children, Family, and Services. Next door to Orange County, it's called the Child Protection Services, CPS. Then in Arizona, it's called the Department of Children's Services, DCS. And in Kentucky, it's called the Cabinet. So when I say CPS, I mean all the child protection systems. It's easier just to state that than anything else. Now, I know it's kind of early here, but it's very important that you deal with CPS right away. You don't want to wait on them. Now, I've developed 5 rules. Rule 1 is hire an attorney, and it has to be an attorney in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law, who has fought CPS. Rule 2 is to document everything. Keep all your paperwork together in a notebook. Create a very important document called the incident timeline log, where you track all incidents, whether you're on the phone or whether you see them in person. And you devote 3 sentences. First sentence is the location, the date, and the time. Whether on the phone or they came to visit, whether it's the police, whether it's a social worker from CPS, or it could be a neighbor or a school or whatever the incident was. So besides the date and time, everything, you want to list also the people involved. Your second sentence is a summary of what the incident was about, 1 sentence summary. And then your third line will be the outcome of the incident, what the outcome was. If you don't know the outcome, you can ask about it later. Now, it is really a hard situation to deal with. I know how they take your children when there's no danger involved. They're not supposed to take your children. They're supposed to protect you. Good morning. I'm just Rule 3 is you don't talk to them, don't let them in your home, and don't give up your child, and watch out the medical trafficking. Rule 4 is use the internet wisely, phrase your words. Remember, it's a city followed by the state, and if you're from outside of the United States, followed by your country. The letters CPS. And if you want to be more specific, after the letter CPS, write what you're looking for, like a juvenile, family law, dependency law, attorney. Or you want to know how to file a 388 motion, or what the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, is. And Rule 5 is to gather copies of important documents like marriage certificates, your children's grade reports, your shot records, their medical, their birth certificate, your birth certificate, your driver's license. Make copies of all the documents and keep it with your notebook. So those are your simple 5 rules. I can go into more depth if time permits. But you're going to be faced with how to deal with that rule number 1, find an attorney. You're going to be tempted to use the court-appointed attorney. And a lot of you can't afford a real attorney. Like just in LA County, if your case is in LA County, the retainer is $5,000, which is a good price. I was talking to someone the other day, and it was $6,000 in their state. So, a $5,000 retainer, but it's going to have to take an attorney to fight them. It's like open heart surgery. You don't want to do it yourself. You don't want to have an auto mechanic do it. You're going to get a professional doctor. That also goes true for CPS. You need that professional attorney. And I worked for a marvelous attorney. His name is Vincent W. Davis. And he created this live stream. He was also my attorney in my case. I had to sell my home to get the money to put up to get the retainer that he wanted. And he got back two of my three children. My youngest daughter was attacked by the social worker, meaning that she forced my youngest daughter as part of her retaliation for her lying on the witness stand, or not the witness stand, but I lied underneath oath. She committed perjury. My attorney, Vincent Davis, was fighting the adoption of our daughter. Who was very young at the time. And the social worker, who didn't have very much of education, not even a high school degree, lied on his oath when she was talking about the adopted parents. These adopted parents were my wife's sister and her husband. And Vincent was trying to find out if they were good parents or not. And so he asked, are the parents really good there? And the answer was yes, the parents are good. They'd be marvelous parents for our daughter. Well, then he asked, has there ever been domestic violence? And of course, the social worker says, no, there's been no domestic violence. Well, Vincent looked a little troubled, so he pulled out these reports. He started reading the reports one by one, and sure enough, they were domestic violence reports. Not only were they arguing with each other, they were hitting each other physically in the arguments. That's what you don't want in a home. And the social worker was so embarrassed that she left the courtroom. But she told us as parents she's going to retaliate. So she convinced her daughter, who's 12 at the time, to emancipate from her mother and father, from her brothers. She has three brothers and two sisters, and from her aunts and uncles and grandparents, both sets of grandparents and cousins. Divorced the whole family. It was terrible. And my daughter, who at 12 didn't know what to do, she was just doing what the social workers instructed her to do. She was told to remove her name, which she did in its entirety. She had a beautiful middle name, Honolulu, which is a place in Kauai, the Garden Island, on Kauai. And then she was told to seal her birth certificate, that she wasn't born from mom and dad, that she got a new birth certificate and put her put her adopted foster care family as the people that gave her birth. She also got a second social security card and was double dipping from my retirement funds with the first social security card and the new social security card, which is illegal anyway. And then she was told to be adopted by these foster parents. And that was it on her daughter. She did all that at age 12. She's 22 now. This July, she'll be 23, and she has not seen us parents. So it is very hard because CPS does retaliate. Now, not all CPS is bad, but a lot of them are. And I would say over 1,000 of them, because I've talked to over 1,000 people, either texting or phone calling or being a guest. And on my screen, if you want to be a guest, all you do is contact my show producer, Grace, at vincentwdavis.com. That's her email. Email her one of the 14 shows you want to be on. My morning show, my evening show, Monday or Saturday, or in those days, you just contact. And She will give you a link to StreamYard, which is the application I use, and I use the YouTube channel. So that's how you be a guest. That's the second way. First is texting, the second way is be a guest. A third way is to call in right now at 626-698-0990. And that way we can talk about your case. We can talk about your case. And either by calling in or being a guest, you get an added bonus of having a free 15-minute time, a Zoom conference with Vincent Davis, my attorney. For being a guest on my show, I take up 9 of you to be a guest, or the call in at that number, 626-698-0990. Now there's another number, 888-888-6582. That's the law office of Vincent W. Davis. And there you can find out the schedule of what live streams that Vincent Davis is doing, what I'm doing. Also, if you need to hire him, you can call him that number, retain him. Also, you can get other kinds of resources, books and guides about how to fight CPS. Books and guides on how to fight CPS. I know it saddens your heart, and it's a very frustrating thing. But no, I'm here to help you. So if you have a text message, either a comment or question about CPS, please text it to me or please call in. I do want to help you, but I need some help from you to tell me what you would like, what you need to know. It's a hard thing to call in. I know it's hard to talk about your case. CPS is not your friend. They lie, they build you up, they make promises, they force you to sign things you shouldn't sign. It's real trickery. Now, not all of them are bad that way, but they're supposed to protect. Government created the CPS, the Child Protection System, in 1962 by mandating that social services create a child protection system that would protect our children from neglect or abuse. Furthermore, they're supposed to do what's called family reunification if they take the family apart. Because studies have shown that the best parents are the biological parents. The best parents are. uh, mm, mm. Uh, I was hoping that one of you would have a question for me, but what I'll do is I'll try to look up some topics here on CPS that would help. Now, checking on the internet, there is some news about child protection services. There's talk about bipartisan legislation to improve Title 4-B programs, which are reforms to address racial inequalities in foster care and ongoing debates about the effectiveness impact of child protection service investigation. Additionally, there are discussions about the need for more resources and support for families facing poverty and the importance of preventing family separation due to poverty. You know, it seems like the majority of over the 1,000 people I talked to, it is about income. If you make good income, you can hire an attorney. There's no question about it. And get yourself out of your mess. But without the income, and some of the income is not your fault. In California, there's a lot of massive fires that burn homes to the ground, and then people now are faced with shelter for their children. Or back east through the hurricanes and the floodings along the coast and the heavy rains in North Carolina and South Carolina, in Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee, Kentucky. The child protection system is attacking parents because they don't have a home. It's not their fault. They're trying to get a home. And when you're facing poverty, it's very important that you prevent the family separation due to poverty. Now, the Supporting America's Children and Families Act, which reauthorizes and updates Title 4-B of the Social Security Act, was signed into law recently. This legislation aims to strengthen counties' ability to support at risk children, youth, and families with a focus on the workforce, recruitment, and retention, and greater flexibility in serving families facing poverty. Now, in Los Angeles, California, the UCLA Pritzker Center is working to address racial inequalities in foster care, particularly the overrepresentation of black children. While some studies suggest a lack of observing connection between CPS involvements and improved outcomes, others emphasize the importance of mandatory reporting and the harm caused by unnecessary investigations. There's a growing movement towards family strengthening policies and early intervention programs to prevent family separation. That isn't the key to separate a family, and it has been racial and motivated. And right away, they want to take a child that isn't in danger and say they are in danger and put them into foster care. And that's wrong. That's wrong. Now, preventing family separations. Efforts are underway to prevent the separation of families due to poverty, with a focus on providing more support for kinship, care, and aging out youth. A lot of the children are kept even past the age of 18, which is wrong. When you turn 18, you have a right to make your own decisions to who you want to live with. There's something called funding and resources, the important reports on ongoing struggle to secure funding for child welfare programs, including child care support and safety net programs. There's family strengthening policy. There's a growing emphasis on supportive families in their homes through home visiting, economic support, and other evidence based on family preservation factors. Now, some recent news is the child welfare uh, leaders are stunned by Trump's call to freeze Social Security spending, which is something that Trump is trying to do through Doge, is to stop the wasteful funding of CPS. The Trump administration called for fund freezing and could total hundreds of billions of dollars, with sweeping impact on social safety and programs serving children and family. Under threat, Children's Protection and Juvenile Justice private foster agencies, homeless shelters, and nonprofit foster care services. On Wednesday, the Washington Post and the New York Times reported that the White House's budget officially office has transcended to previous memo freezing federal social service grants. Well, I kind of like that in one respect because the families are not getting the money, by the way. All it is the fat cats in corrupt CPS, child protection systems, that are getting the money. So maybe that will give a wake up call. In a swipe at social spending that stunned state and local officials and advocates for the poor nationwide, the Trump administration ordered a halt to virtually all federal spending on social services, issuing a directive that sought to freeze hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funding. See, what Trump is, he's at the tip of the iceberg. We have a bad case where CPS is making trillions of dollars off our families. Trillions of dollars. Billions come from the federal to the state, and from the state to the local agencies is millions. And it's certainly not going to the poor or the people that need help. Now, this temporary intervene calls for a near immediate pause on all agency grants, loans, and other financial assistance programs, much of which focuses on keeping struggling families intact. The spending freeze could have affected monthly checks, allowing grandparents to take kids from foster care programs, helping mothers and fathers reunite their broken families, and housing stipends that keep teens raised in the state custody of the streets. Now, in a separate document, the office has detailed federal programs subject to the freeze, including Title 4E of the Social Security Act, which funds foster care as well as adopted assistance, child abuse, and neglect block grants and programs designed. So there's just one issue there. Um, Now, they say that mandatory reporting does save lives. Well, for the professional reporters, I agree. 75% of the time, they're right. And those are the professionals, the firemen, the doctors, and the lawyers. Um, I'm going to pause here for 1 second here. Uh, All right.
That's right.
Okay, I got to walk to my car, but maybe you can drive me to my car, okay? Okay?
We gotta go to your car.
Um, I'll just make it here. Need some. Anyway, I got to wrap up this live stream. I need to go. And I want to thank you all for listening. And I'll be back on again tonight. I'll try for 8 p.m., but it's probably closer to 9 because I got on the show last night at 8:30. So anyway, I know this is kind of disjuncted, this time zone, but I really do care about you. Try to think about what you want to talk about so I can help you. All right? So with that being said, don't keep fighting for your kids. God bless you. And this is Bob Pace signing off. Okay. All right. Okay. We need to end the live stream. All right.